Good morning, everyone. As I stated on yesterday, it's beginning to seem like it's Christmas, and so we are certainly grateful, and we are privileged and grateful to be able to have this meeting. So at this time, I'm calling the meeting to order. Steve Pace will not be here, so I would lead us with the prayer as well as the pledge. If we can stand and remain standing until the pledge. And what I ask if we can all bow. Heavenly gracious, loving Father, we just thank you for this privilege and this opportunity that you have given each and every one of us. Lord, and I just want to thank you for being so awesome, and thank you for being forgiving. Thank you for being loving. Thank you for being merciful, because God, without those things, none of us would be where we are right now. But we are here because it's ordained by you. It is ordained that we do the right thing, that we strive and continue to do the right thing, that we truly have public transparency. And Lord, I ask that you continue to bless us and guide the people of this city. We are truly thankful to be able to live in an awesome community that you put us in. Lord, you just didn't put us in to be a bystanders. You put us where we are to be a lifter and not a leaner. And God, I can pray, and I can only pray that you continue to etch in our hearts that we think of others more than we do ourselves. And Lord, we truly thank you for this time of year that you've given us to be able to reflect and to know why we are being a human being, because of your Son, Jesus Christ. And Lord, help us to stay mindful, help us to stay purposely, and help us to stay focused, to live and honor you, and to always put this city before we do ourselves. In your Son's name we do pray, Jesus Christ our Savior. Amen. Amen. And we can face the flag, please. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Thank you. Also, would like to say, as we all see, Steve Bailey is not here. His son is serving this country, and he's where he should be and spending that quality time. So we're grateful for that, and we always know what's first thing first. So we're grateful for that. So with that, council, as a pleasure of this council, we will proceed on. We do not have any presentations or proclamations. So at this time, council, under the city clerk, I'd like to ask for a motion for the approval of the regular scheduled meeting minutes for December the 6th work session, as well as December the 7th council meeting. So since we were all there, I would ask at the pleasure of this council that we take this in one vote. So with that said, I'd like to call for a motion. May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion by Councilman Day. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilman Gordy. Mrs. Lee?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Day?
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Councilmember Gordy?
Yes.
Mayor Lo?
Yes.
Thank you.
Also, council, at this time, I'd like to call for a motion to approval of the call meeting minutes for the December the 9th, council call meeting. At this time, I'd like to call for a motion to approve the December the 9th meeting minutes. May I have a motion to approve, please?
Motion to approve.
All right, motion by Councilwoman Johnson. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilman Day. Mrs. Lee?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Day?
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Councilmember Gordy?
Abstain.
Mayor Lo?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now proceeding on, council. If there's any unfinished business, now is the time that we'd like to discuss it. Are there any unfinished business? Okay, since there's not any, we will proceed with the resolutions and under administrations. We have a resolution in reference to granting a tax abatement to Day Change Seat Corporation USA expansion. Mrs. Lee.
Yes, sir. This resolution is made this 21st day of December 2021 by the City of Phenix City, Alabama, the granting authority to grant a tax abatement to Day Change Seat Corp. USA, the company. And whereas the company has announced plans for a new project, and whereas pursuant to the Tax Incentive Reform Act of 1992, Section 49B1, Code of Alabama 1975, the Act, the company has requested from the granting authority an abatement of all state and local non-educational property taxes on the manufacturing and non-manufacturing equipment and all construction-related transaction taxes except those local construction-related transaction taxes levied for educational purposes or for capital improvements for education. And whereas the company has requested that the abatement of state and local non-educational property taxes be extended for a period of 10 years in accordance with the Act. And whereas the granting authority has considered the request of the company and the completed applications, copy attached, filed with the granting authority by the company in connection with its request. And whereas the granting authority has found the information contained in the company's application to be sufficient to permit the granting authority to make a reasonable cost-benefit analysis of the proposed project and determine the economic benefits to the community. And whereas the construction of the project will involve a capital investment of $23,366,072. And whereas the company is duly qualified to do business in the state of Alabama and has powers to enter into and to perform and observe the agreements and covenants on its part contained in the tax abatement agreement. And whereas the granting authority represents and warrants to the company that it has power under that Constitution and laws of the state of Alabama, including particularly the provisions of the Act, to carry out the provisions of the tax abatement agreement. Now therefore be it resolved by the granting authority as follows. Section 1. Approval is hereby given to the application of the company, and abatement is hereby granted of all state and local non-educational property taxes, manufacturing and non-manufacturing equipment, and all construction-related transaction taxes, except those local construction-related transaction taxes levied for educational purposes or for capital improvements for education. And as the same may apply to the fullest extent permitted by the Act, the period of abatement for the non-educational property taxes shall extend for a period of 10 years measured as provided in Section 49B3A12 of the Act. Section 2. The governing body of the granting authority is authorized to enter into an abatement agreement with the company to provide for the abatement granted in Section 1. Section 3. A certified copy of this resolution with the application and abatement agreement shall be forwarded to the company to deliver to the appropriate local taxing authorities and to the Alabama Department of Revenue in accordance with the Act. Section 4. The governing body of the granting authority is authorized to take any and all actions necessary or desirable to accomplish the purpose of the foregoing of this resolution. Passed, approved, and adopted this 21st day of December 2021.
Thank you, Mrs. Lee. You started off with a bang this morning. Drink you some water. Council, we have all heard the resolution. At this time, I would like to ask for a motion please? Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion by Councilman Day. May I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second, Councilwoman Johnson. Any comments or discussion?
Yes, sir, Mayor, this is gonna be huge for our area, and, we are proud to have them as they've been here in the City of Phenix City. It's gonna be really huge.
Thank you, Mr. Day. Any other comments or discussion? If not, at this time, I'd like to call for the vote. Sean, you want to come up and really go into detail?
I would, yes, sir. Mayor, Council, thanks for the opportunity to talk on this project. It is great news.
Yeah, what?
It is wonderful news. So I think, if you guys remember, these guys located here in 2019. So their expectations were 100 jobs. Well, they've exceeded that within a matter of a couple of years. There are over 200 jobs currently. So what they're doing now is they're actually purchasing property from us in the industrial park, which used to be the industrial soccer field. The soccer field is in the industrial park. They're purchasing that from us. They're going to build a building of over 200,000 square foot, so $23 million worth of investment, and an additional 300 jobs over the next few years. So this is one of those projects from a company perspective that basically give them a foundation in this community that's going to last for a very, very, very long time. So, and if I may add, additionally, what this does, by putting more jobs in the industrial park, it only benefits the retail that we're looking to grow down 431. So this is going to be an additional benefit towards that. So great project. We're excited that they're continuing to grow. And when they first came, we knew they had expectations of building a building at some point, but they could have located that project anywhere. So we're fortunate enough for those guys to have chosen that location. So we're excited to see their growth.
So the total number of jobs over the years would be close to 500?
That's their expectation, yes, sir. So, and they're expecting, I'm a little leery to say, but I will say, so they're going to build a little over 200,000 square foot now. The expectation in the next couple of years is to add on to that facility too. So that all depends upon some of the work that they get from other companies, but that's their expectation.
So I'm sure they're gonna do it in phase 1, phase 2, and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So phase 1 will be a little over 200,000 foot.
Great.
Good project. Thank you, guys.
Great.
And Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, but these are premium paying jobs we're talking about. So
these will have an average pay of about $15 an hour. I will say the market will dictate. We're seeing wages continue to rise. So for them to be competitive, we'd like to see that continue to rise and be higher as well. But they'll have an average pay of $15 an hour.
Okay.
it's good.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Good job. We appreciate it. Any other comments, discussion? All right, at this time, I'd like to call for the vote. Mrs. Lee?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Day?
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Councilmember Gordy?
Yes.
Mayor Lo?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next, council, on the administration, we have a resolution in reference to accepting the annual transportation plan report. Mrs. Lee?
Yes, sir. Whereas the City of Phenix City, Alabama is required by the Rebuild Alabama Act to file a report detailing expenditures set out in the annual transportation plan, and whereas the city has prepared the report. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Phenix City, Alabama accepts the annual transportation report as submitted. Passed, approved, and adopted this 21st day of December 2021.
Okay, thank you. Council, we've heard the resolution. This time, I'd like to ask for a motion, please.
Motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion by Councilman Gordy. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilman Day. Council, are there any comments or discussion? Okay, Mrs. Lee?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Day?
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Councilmember Gordy?
Yes.
Mayor Lo?
Yes.
Thank you.
And proceeding on, council, we have a resolution in reference to authorizing the City of Phenix City, Alabama to join the state of Alabama and other local governments as participant in the Indu settlement. Mrs. Lee?
Yes, sir. A resolution authorizing the City of Phenix City, Alabama to join the state of Alabama and other local governments as participants in the Indu settlement. Whereas the opioid epidemic continues to impact communities in the United States, the state of Alabama, and the City of Phenix City, Alabama. And whereas the City of Phenix City has suffered harm and will continue to suffer harm as a result of the opioid epidemic. And whereas the state of Alabama and some Alabama local governments have filed lawsuits against opioid manufacturers, distributors, and retailers, the opioid litigation. And whereas the state of Alabama has entered into a settlement agreement with Indu Health Solutions Incorporated and Indu Pharmaceuticals Incorporated, Indu, which includes the claims for the state of Alabama's local governments and the city of Phenix City, finds the terms of the settlement agreement acceptable and in the best interest of the community. And whereas the state of Alabama has proposed an in-due settlement sign-on agreement to the local governments, and the city of Phenix City finds the terms of the sign-on agreement acceptable and in the best interest of the community. And whereas the settlement agreement and the sign-on agreement detail the allocation of settlement funds, which the city of Phenix City finds acceptable and in the best interest of the community. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Phenix City, Alabama, Section 1, that the City of Phenix City finds that participation in the in-due settlement agreement and sign-on agreement is in the best interest of the City of Phenix City and its citizens, because such a plan would ensure an effective structure for the commitment of settlement funds to abate and seek to resolve the opioid epidemic. Section 2, that the City of Phenix City hereby expresses its support for the in-due settlement and allocation and use of settlement funds as generally described in the settlement agreement and sign-on agreement. Section 3, that the city manager of the City of Phenix City, city manager, is hereby expressly authorized to execute the in-due settlement sign-on agreement, and the city manager is hereby authorized to execute any formal agreements necessary to implement the in-due settlement and plan for the allocation and use of settlement funds. Section 4, that the city manager is hereby expressly authorized to execute any formal agreement and related documents evidencing the City of Phenix City's agreement to the settlement of claims and litigation specifically related to in-due. Section 5, that the city manager is authorized to take such other action as necessary and appropriate effectuate the City of Phenix City's participation in the in-due settlement. Section 6, this resolution is effective upon adoption, the welfare of the City of Phenix City, Alabama requiring it. Passed, approved, and adopted this 21st day of December 2021.
Thank you. And you started off with a bang this morning, Melanie. Thank you so much. Council, we've all heard the resolution. At this time, I'd like to ask for a motion, please. May I have a
Motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion by Councilman Day. May I have a second? Second, Councilman Ward. Council, are there any comments or discussion?
Yes, sir, I'd like to ask this question, for the state of Alabama, is all these cities that participated in it, do you know how many cities participated in it? I know all the cities in the state of Alabama did not participate.
No, sir. A number of cities and counties have participated in it. This is a class action lawsuit with multiple defendants, and this is just one of the defendants that has reached a settlement with the attorneys that are handling this opioid litigation.
But you don't know how many.
We have a list, but it's not nothing I was keep up with a number with, because I'm worried about Phoenix City.
Yeah, I know, but in this settlement, the less city participated, more will come to Phenix City.
Well, it depends, but you can't look at it that way.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's just a matter of somebody's not doing it. You know, the reason I'm not gonna say anything about it, really, because it's just a matter of somebody else not doing their homework. We done ours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We looked out for what we're supposed to look for here, and looking at the allocation of the funds and dealing with public safety director and looking at how do we re-educate and educate our people that's in our city to stay away from these things. That's what we got to funnel these funds into for prevention.
Okay, let me ask this question, Mr. Hunt. You know, when it comes to state, they usually send it to, it's not gonna be sent to the county gonna distribute it.
It's separate.
Separate, thank you, sir.
It's separate.
Yeah.
County is just separate. Municipalities and counties are separate in what they do. You know,
Okay.
they have their function in their part, their government, and we have ours. You know, and our attorneys did a good job. And we went into this years ago.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember.
it's been a while, and now that they're starting to have to reach settlements and pay these funds out, it's different. It depends on the size of your location and your city or municipality. The adjustments to the funds, like in comparison to, we got a larger city, places like Huntsville, Birmingham,
Okay.
Mobile, they would have a much larger settlement than what we would have in this, but it's things that we have to do to get out here and deal with our city and try to have a good impact on preventing these things in the future.
The reason I asked that question, I know the gas tax, you said it to the county supposed to transferred to the city, that would have to work.
Yes, sir, until they, unless they separate them, just like we went over earlier dealing with, when it comes to gas tax, dealing with the latter one was 10-cent tax.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of times, quiet about a lot of things because if I say something, it would seem like it's a knock on someone else.
Okay.
And I don't want to do that if they don't function the way we do.
Mr. Day, also, it's my understanding that Russell County did not file a claim in this matter, and but any monies that will come directly to the city.
Yeah, that's what I think.
See what you got, what you want out of it, you just told me.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to.
But he's an attorney though.
That's right.
He's an attorney.
Thank you, that's what I figured.
True.
But you're the attorney, yeah. You're doing your
Right.
job.
That's what I would get at right there, okay?
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Day, Mr. Hunter, Mr. Grant. Any other comments, discussion? All right, Mrs. Lee?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Day?
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Councilmember Gordy?
Yes.
Mayor Lo?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And next, council on the Engineer and Public Works Department. We do have a resolution in reference to authorizing the mayor and city manager to sign and enter into an indemnity agreement with Justin and Christine Trimback to grant permission to construct and to tie drainage culvert boxes into the city existing stormwater drainage system. Mrs. Lee.
Yes, sir. Whereas Justin Trimback and his wife, Christine Trimback, wishes to enter into an indemnity agreement with the City of Phenix City, Alabama to grant permission for the construction of culvert boxes to promote proper and safe drainage of the Trimback property and certain real property surrounding the Trimback property. And whereas Justin and Christine Trimback has sought permission of the city to tie said drainage culvert boxes into the city's existing storm water drainage system. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Phenix City, Alabama hereby authorizes the mayor and city manager to sign and enter into an indemnity agreement with Justin and Christine Trimback to grant permission for the construction of culvert boxes and to tie said drainage culvert boxes into the city's existing storm water drainage system. Passed, approved, and adopted this 21st day of December 2021.
Thank you, Mrs. Lee. Council, we've heard the resolution. We've all heard it. At this time, I'd like to ask for a motion, please.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion for Councilwoman Johnson. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilman Gordon. Okay, we have the motion and the second. Comments, discussions? I would ask, Mr. Hunter, if you can elaborate some on this, what this really is going to open up in the South End, in South Phenix City, and what it's really is going to do with citizens like this that are investing in their community.
As you know, this is located across the street from Renfro's on 431 in the southern part of the city, and its owner is Trimback, and also another portion of the property owned by there is part of it's Corbett, Steve Corbett. And what they're doing, the investment in this property, is they're upgrading their property so that they can have something buildable in that particular area, which they are, which working with some companies now for people for the area. And Sean and Economic Development does a lot of work with them in that department, but it's things that we have to keep quiet until it's developed.
Exactly.
Until somebody signs on the dotted line. But they're making a heavy investment. This started out when they was working in our engineering department. It's towards $1 million worth of work, but they have their own company, so it's gonna be somewhere in between $500,000 or so that they develop this property into it. They invest in their own money into this to make sure things are better for development down there.
And Mr. Hunter,
So
since you stated that, explain what the process is, that the city cannot just put money in speculation deals, and that we have to have people who are going to inject the capital that wants to see a ROI for them and how this process works, because there's so many people saying, why we don't have this, we're not going here. But we don't just waste taxpayers' money. So if you can expound on that some for us,
Well, what
for
we
clarification.
have is, yes, sir, what we have is, it's a private development, and that's what they recruit. That's what we recruit a lot of the time. In fact, this is a great relationship, because now we've been dealing with Trimback and Corbett now for about 13 years. Ever since I became city manager. and they built the apartments, 375 units, which are across the street from Renfro's, and they have a lot of other development that they do throughout the city. But in working with that and development is a plan. When you plan, a lot of people may not have patience, and they may say you're not doing this in this part of the city or that part of the city, but these are things to be built and invested in by private people, not the city itself, you know. So they're working with getting things down there in that area that we plan. It's a difference in 431. I get knocked over the head all the time, and we do from that, and you do too, Mayor, and the whole thing. Well, we're not developing South Phenix City. Well, South Phenix City is gonna develop on 431, not Seal Road. I tell people all the time, you're not gonna build a McDonald's or something on Seal Road. Not knocking Seal Road, but you gotta build it where you can pay your employees, pay for your building, pay for the land. You gotta have traffic. You gotta have tens of thousands of people that come through there each day. Hopefully they'll stop and get them purchase something for them to eat, something that's sustainable. You know, and a lot of people hadn't woke up to that. In the other areas like Seal Road, that might be private businesses, smaller businesses that will go there. But you're not gonna, you know, like some of the places we're recruiting now, just like on 80, some of the things that we've had to wait for that's out on 80 and that last development that we had out there with Del Taco's, Popeyes and places like that, Dollar Store, places that's coming here. They want to go to 431, but it's all about timing. And that's why I tell people, I hope people will watch and take a look at the news so they can understand. People are begging people to come to work. If you go down 280 and you look at every business down there, just about a restaurant, you see a sign in front of it.
We are
Hiring.
Yeah.
Please, they need people to come to work. You can't open up a place and it not function. You know, it's like I say all the time, you're not gonna build a house with no way to pay for it. And the banks are not gonna let you borrow any money if you don't have that resource to do that. It's just on a larger scale this year. And even people that's dealing in the private side of, you know, development, they're not gonna go out there and waste or build something where they don't have enough people to come there to service people. You know, we have a big developer here that I know, I'm not gonna call any names, but even at one of his fast food restaurants, he have his wife and kids working there right now, trying to service and make sure things, because they can't get, and they pay pretty good wages. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going on where people just don't want to work now. We're not going for jobs, but people out here fighting and trying to service this area and this community. And in conjunction with that particular area, when we talk about development, looking here and looking at things that's ongoing for people building there, in conjunction with what Sean just talked about in economic development, placing hundreds of other people down there in the workforce, here and there, whatever. These are the people, like he said, it's gonna service this area. It's gonna go to the stores. It's gonna make sure that they spend their money in that area going to, making it convenient for them going back and forth to work, not let alone the people that live in that area already as people continue to build. And we have several things that's been on hold in that area, and that's because of the pandemic. And with, you know, trying to service, this hospitality industries. You know, even the hotel that we had planned with the people was trying to put their stuff, they can't get enough people to work, so why build it right now? And they're waiting on time to do this because if you build it, you gotta pay for it. So that's all that is. It's just what we are steadily working through this, and because of people like Trim Back that's believe in this city and believe in this government and what we're doing, they don't mind contributing to that. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, and let me say this, this council, and this group always get beat up about, we don't have this, we want this, we don't have that. Well, we have been very, very public transparent, as I stated in our prayer, that we don't take taxpayer money lightly. We're stewards, and we handle that very delicately, and we will continue to do that, but we don't just haphazardly do something with taxpayer money. That's our major responsibility. That's the city manager major responsibility, and he does a good job in keeping us accountable to that, and we don't take that lightly. But we just can't go out and put taxpayer money into deals. That's just not the way the government works. And this municipality works. So I wanted to take this opportunity to get that out there because we've been getting beat up across the head. Not that we can't take it, but it gives us a chance to really show how transparent we really are. And that's the key.
And like I would say one more thing, because it is important. A lot of people probably, don't have a clue of what we're talking about, to a certain,
Yeah.
they get a feeling. And I just want to say this while we're on this TV, while we're being broadcast. If you're in the public and you want information, or you get listening to rumors, and you want to hear the true facts, we have our city clerk's office where you can present your questions there. We have an open door to economic development in the planning department. It's an open door to my office. I know it's an open door to the mayor's office. And you are always welcome and can get in touch with your district council person. So it's there, and I want the public to understand that, because some rumors are vicious. And we have to deal with these things all the time, but we're built to take it, but we're also human beings also.
Yeah, exactly.
And when people are just consistently making up things and saying things to be dissatisfied, we can put a lot of that to rest if you come to the right place. So you can be shown the facts, just not told something, but you can be shown the things that we can tell you about that won't interrupt a business, because these businesses are competitive with one another. And sometimes they just don't want people to know what they're doing until it's time to sign on that dotted line. So in dealing with a lot of these things, just come to where the facts are, ask the question, you will be answered, because that was presented to me a couple of weeks ago, that people want to know, they want to know some things. I said then, send them to the right places so they can find out, because the person that was telling me definitely can't tell them, because they don't work in economic development. They don't work for the city. City government, community service, it involves a lot of dealing with one another, but government is government. It's a separation there. And the procedures of it is totally different than if you want to do something out there on your own. That's totally different than what we have to follow in government. So if you want this information and want to know how it's done, we don't mind presenting that. And and I spoke and talked to the mayor a few weeks ago about a certain thing that I wanted to do. We wanted to put in place. I was in the fire service and dealing with public safety and dealing with the police department. Also, we had Citizens Academy to teach people about what they did day to day. We have got to have a government academy to bring younger people in, and they may not be students. We did this for the students at Chattanooga Valley. We've done that for certain years, but we want to take some people in and teach them about the procedures of government and how things work, and how the revenue streams work, how the departments work. And I think when people have that information or more educated on that, they will find that you just can't do anything, or you just can't say, I'm gonna get elected and I'm gonna change the world. Well, no, you're not. You're gonna abide by the laws, and you're gonna find out how the procedures work. And that's how you can modify or change things, when you find out how they work. You're not gonna change it by just saying, I'm gonna do this. It don't work that way.
Well, and I don't want to just keep beating a dead horse, but this council take this very seriously, and we're not going to succumb to some of the things that are out there. And yes, you can probably tell them it pisses me off, and I'm pissed. And I don't want to keep harping on this, but we are not going to succumb to that. And I'm telling you, I'm willing to cut my risk in doing what's right for this community in this city, regardless of what demographic. Okay, Sean, you have a statement or something?
That's it.
Come on.
And I hate to beat a dead horse as well, but I do want to mention something. I want to just make it clear so people understand how things work. Government, we don't build retail. We don't build or develop retail in most cases. Okay. Now we can incentivize things. We can participate in things, and we've done that. I mean, the shopping center on 431 is heavily incentivized. That being said, we opened up 2 shopping centers in the middle of COVID. So the 431 shopping center and the one where all of these anchor on 280 were opened up in the middle of COVID. So we're very fortunate that the projects were in prior to COVID hitting, so that we reaped tax benefits from it. But we were on the back end to filling out the rest of those spaces. And so what we're experiencing and what we're seeing in economic development is things are beginning to show a little light and just to open up in certain places. But the reality is that retail is going to drive that. We can help show locations, we can point people in certain directions, but the retailers themselves are so data filled, and they know way more than we're ever going to know about their business and about where they can locate that's going to make sense for them and it's going to make the money that you're discussing. So we can help in that matter, but we're not the end all be all there. We can't make those decisions for them. So that being said, they're going to go where they feel like their best opportunity is. And a lot of those times are in very heavily trafficked areas like 280, like 431. So that's what we're experiencing recently. So I will say things are looking up in some of those areas, and specifically down 431 at the Village of Crosswinds, things are looking up tremendously. I don't want to count my chickens before they
sound the dotted line.
hatch.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, things feel good. That being said, we're just being hopeful right now. But we're pushing. I can promise you, I was fortunate enough that we've seen retail development in literally all parts of the city just a handful of years ago. I mean, it's proven the stores are open and they're out there. But the reality is, things are looking up, but we can't guarantee anything. But we feel good about what we see at 431 right now. So,
And some of your numbers, Sean, as far as city, 12 or 13 in the state, largest city. Not only that, in growth, we was up there at the top.
absolutely. But and also that we're also geographically challenged that we're sitting next to
Exactly.
the second largest city. So I mean, should we plot Phoenix City in the middle of Nowheresville, we'd be the retail capital of the world. But the reality is we're sandwiched in between Opelika, Auburn, LaGrange, and Columbus, which has its challenges, specifically when it comes to retail. We have people tell us all the time, we get your people anyway, why do we need to put a second store there? And that's the argument that we have to make constantly, is here's why. We can show you why. But then again, I go back to they know their numbers really, really, really well. That's what they do. And so as things grow, as our census numbers have shown, we have had significant growth. As those things continue to change, as we add new manufacturing jobs within that area, as more houses are built within that area, you're only going to see more positive retail growth. Retail truly follows those components, and that's what we're seeing. So, and it takes time. I mean, we've been working in this retail world for, the better part of 8 years, and we're finally beginning to see the fruits of what's of that labor. I just want that.
And I'm glad that you're gonna have to, because when you work in the department, you have to take it personal. Part of that department, they can attack us all they want, but you're right along with that. And you're out there and you see yourself working and you know the trends. This is your profession, this is what you do. This is what we do every day. But to look at that, if you was to start mentioning, it's a lot of people, but it's not always negative. There's a lot of people that see the growth, they see the different stores that's opening, they see what's going on 280, they see what's going on 431, they see what's going out 80. That we're steadily, during this pandemic, we have steadily grown, not only in population, but our tax base has grown. Everything, so I don't understand some of the things people are talking about, but things like, the chief will be able to tell you, there's some fire chief. When you talk about building things that are assemblies, this is what we deal with. That's putting people in places. As Sean talking now, and as we're having this meeting before I leave home this morning, we're looking at the numbers going up. I'm looking at people in other cities, mayors and governors, everybody talking about what they're gonna have to reinstate for safety. So we're steadily talking, and we're steadily wanting to forget that it's a pandemic with a larger and different strand is going on now. That things are getting worse. Whether you believe in it or not, it's happening. And as we're going, and we're looking at people don't want to face the truth about a lot of things. We're looking at all this crime. A lot of our crime, even the crime lately, a lot of it, I don't want to blame Georgia or Columbus, but a lot of it is bleeding over because we are next to the second largest city in Columbus. We do have to face the fact that it's a lot of people out there that's robbing and stealing. There's a lot of kids out there that the streets are raising. When the streets become a kid's father, the judge becomes that kid's mother. When the judge becomes that person's mother, the prison becomes that kid's home. That is a fact. And it's a lot of that, where it's not both parents in the houses that's there trying to raise it. You can catch people divorced or separated, but long as that man, that parent, or significant other, whatever it is still in that kid's life or somewhere around it to help. That helps with the development of that, trying to fight for these kids to have a life. But it's so many that's discouraged and despair in the streets of raising them. So they have so many negative things out there. Not just say that because we have good kids from good houses and everything else to get themselves in trouble and do a lot of different things. But for the most part, we have a little bit too much crime next door that's bled over here, along with what we have on a smaller scale. But it's still, all of that's a part of it, because people that's gonna build and in retail, they look at that. They don't just look at your
They know the numbers
system
of this.
and how things are going, or your utilities that you can provide. They look at the area of how safe it is for that family, that you want to be ranked as one of the safest cities in your particular state. This is something that you have to build around you through prevention and trying to help. And Lord knows, I don't think that our chief in Columbus, any of these places, want to see people getting murdered or being robbed and being killed. But it's always something out there that's difficult when you steadily on TV saying our forces are short or defund the police. Well, we gotta have all this going on with having a police department. What do you think's gonna happen if you don't have one? It's just, you gotta think about that, the simple fact. But when you're always discussing that we don't have enough people, we're trying to put more energy to make sure that we have enough people. We're steadily recruiting. We're steadily trying to hire. But a lot of this area is fighting for employees to try to get them to work. And that's what the planning and economic department has to do. They are fighting with people at the same time. They're looking at, well, in your area, how can we recruit people to work in these particular places that we build so we can keep them open?
Well, thank you, Sean. Good job. And to me, it's just, I'm grateful that it gives us a chance to show how transparent we are.
Mayor, I'd like to say something if I may, please. As I sit here and listen very diligently as you elaborate on that, as Sean elaborated on that, as the mayor elaborated on that, as you know, I serve District 3. Mayor, I too have been beat up over the head about that. Just this week, a few people came to me. I was in a certain place and we don't have nothing down here in the south end of town. I hear that quite frequently. And I had to correct them. It takes time. Things are in place, but it's not done overnight. This is what I say to these individuals. And that is true, Mayor. I hear that all the time. But they don't realize that it takes time to get to these points, phase 1, phase 2. And I was telling them there's something coming, more businesses coming down in front of Rampo, Grocery down. I said, it's being developed. It's gonna take time, not done overnight. But believe it or not, they can't wait. And there's a process in place. And everything, they must look at the pandemic. The pandemic is slowed down throughout the nation. And there's I said the workforce is down. I said this just the other day to these individuals, Mr. Hunter. And but they still don't see it. They want something in South Phenix City now.
But what I'm saying is,
and these are, Mr. Hunter, this is stuff that I hear all the time. And the mayor, hold on.
Yeah.
The mayor heard, but I hear this stuff all the time. You know what, Mr. Hunter? I received phone calls. When we gonna get something in South Phenix City? You know, and I explained to them, it's not gonna happen overnight.
Well, you know why it's not gonna happen overnight? Because it's already happened. What do you mean there's nothing in South Phenix City
this
when
is the question they asked me.
Recreational facilities been put there? You got Renfro, you got 431s that's been set up for development. Money, millions of dollars.
Mr. Hunter, this is what I told this individual. This is what I told him.
This is the problem. You got some people
major
that
problem.
think this is one city.
Yeah,
See, this is the problem. Some people think you're gonna make a city within a city, and that's not the way it goes. You can't go around here fighting for equality and everything if everything's not blended into one. That's not the way this system works. I'm not here for a part of separation.
We're not gonna do that.
I'm here for inclusion.
We're not gonna do that.
And that's what I stand for. That's what it stood for since I became city manager. But you cannot say you want to be included and
Mr. Hunter,
separate.
make no mistake
See,
about
you
it.
can't have day and night at the same time.
Mr.
It don't work
Hunter,
that way.
look, make no
Yes,
mistake
sir.
about it.
Yeah.
I'm aware of that. I'm just telling you what was said to me.
I understand where you're
And
coming
now,
from.
the thing is this right here,
But-
and this also was said just last week.
Yeah.
Look what they have in North Phenix City. You know, this what, these folks have got that mindset.
What
you
do
know.
you mean, what they have? They got a shopping center in North Phenix City that's on Stadium Drive.
But,
Same thing we got on.
I'm just
Metro.
sharing this with you.
So when you say,
I'm just sharing this with the county.
I will never, ever let people place it upon my shoulders or anybody else's shoulders to take the world and make it perfect in a world that I was born in that was set this way already. Now, we are trying to make sure things are done where people can live and have things in different areas. But at the same time, development. If you want the truth told about it, if you want to talk about, have the truth about it, yes. I can't go back the way things were yesteryear and correct that. I don't know if that'll ever be corrected in any kind of manner or which way it's supposed to be corrected. You see?
Yeah, I understand.
But
And I
to say
said,
things
Mr. Hunter,
like that
and to interrupt you,
with-
please,
Yes, sir,
I
go
said
ahead.
this right here, some of the things, I said this right. I said we have business going on in all three districts. This is what we have, business and venues going on in all three districts. But you know, folks make their own choice, like Sean has said. They can't put it on the old Seal Road, expecting setting a venue over there because of the traffic. They do traffic study. I'm aware of how that works, but these folks are getting on, you know, asking me these things, you know. And I'm just sharing it with
Well, all we
you.
gotta do is try to find out the
Check-
way it
comments,
works.
check
Or,
and see.
guess what? Why don't some of these folks open up a business themselves? Now, this is what I'm saying. Everybody is private, just like what Sean was talking about just now. If we're gonna have these talks and have these open forums about things, we need to bring the truth inside the doors too. And that's where you look, I've been here a long time. You look at the developments when I was coming through here, looking at, and that's just, it becomes a race issue.
Yes.
The way it's being,
Yes.
the way some talk. Now, I'm here to be fair. I'm not here to be a racist on one side or the other. This is what this is coming down to. So you look and you say, okay, do I supposed to sit in this office and say, okay, I'm gonna misuse my position now, to take city funds and we just gonna funnel it in one part of the city?
No, we're not
That's
gonna
not
do
the
that.
way it works.
Uh-uh.
And for people to say, and I don't think anybody's ready to say here because you gotta facilitate the whole city and get things done throughout. We have worked and worked and worked through economic development very hard to bring investors here and everything else, and they have done a wonderful job at that. And they're looking and seeing, but what I'm saying, you can't go back. Nobody's
Mr. Hunter,
gonna put me in a position to
Well-
say that, no, I know we're taking a while on this, but it needs to be discussed.
Yes.
Because it's out there,
That's true.
and these things are going out there. We are here to, like I say, to manage and govern an entire city.
here's what I told those individuals. Have you taken a ride down through the industrial park? No, I ain't been 91, 194. See, this is the mentality they have. I mean, I'm not gonna call no name. Some of the citizens that I serve have. But this is stuff that I deal with. You know, and then another thing, when we gonna get our Christmas decoration down Seal Road? You know, these are the questions asked on me this week.
I understand that. We got the Parks and Rec director that's right there with his crew, with the 50% crew that he's working with, that they had to make a decision to do the downtown area. And that's District 2, that's in the center of the city with the workers they have.
We're short.
They couldn't
We're short.
go north, they couldn't go south.
Yeah.
They went in the
In the
middle
middle,
of the city. That was decision making on the people that had to make that. Now, I can see them fussing and saying something else, if we went north to do certain things, whatever,
Yeah.
but in certain areas like, well, we have our parks, like we got the park on Seal Road where they have the tree, they got it decorated. You got Moon Lake, you got the different areas and stuff like that, but they make that decision and they try to make sure it's done
Equitable.
fair and the way they try to do it in the right manner.
And I always end this way. We are short of help. The city is short due to the pandemic. You know, with shorter employees down there. You know, it takes time on these things.
It's easy for someone else to just sit.
But it's just the
down
mindset
somewhere.
of some people.
Well, it's not just that, it's a vicious
Well,
to it too.
it's very
you know?
vicious,
It
and-
just, it's a
It's
vicious
vicious.
to it, it's not for the intent to get along and make things better throughout. And that's the way it's got to be, you know. You don't, if you feel like you've been discriminated against, the answer is not to discriminate against someone else. The answer is to make it right. That's what I'm for. I'm for trying to make it right. I can't do nothing about the past. I can't do nothing, you know, I don't even know which way the future's gonna go. I just know I wanna be a part of doing things in the correct
right way,
manner,
yeah.
in the way we supposed to do things. That's what I stand for. Anybody who don't like that, that's their problem. This is the way I've been all the time. This is the way, and this is the way I'm gonna stay till I go to death.
Well, Mr.
You know,
Hunter,
that's the way
look
that's
at
gonna be.
Arthur, let's move
Me and
on.
you
Now,
good.
now, make no
Let's
mistake
move
about
on.
it. Make no mistake about
Yes,
it.
sir.
I've been on this council 9 years.
Yes,
I know there's a process in everything
sir.
we do. I'm aware of that.
But we're not talking about you, Arthur.
No,
We-
we know that.
No, we're
I'm
sharing this
just
with,
saying.
we're sharing with those folks that are watching
Yeah.
on cable TV.
Yes,
They got
right.
a process to everything.
That's right.
And if there's time, which is very important, and due to the pandemic, everything is slow, you know? And they gotta, folks gotta understand that, but they don't want to understand that.
But they need to understand, we work, we don't have robots down here.
Yeah.
We have human beings that work
That's
in
right.
this city. These people have families, they're trying to keep their mental health together too, to do the job with short amount of help and staffing and things like that. So I'm glad you brought it up. I want people to understand, and Mr. Day is one of the most understanding council people we've ever had on here since I worked here. So we don't have any problem, but we do open up conversations about things a
Well,
lot when it comes
exactly.
come to that, to get things right, but I don't know the answers. You know, we try our best, we think you're doing something in the greatest way you can.
But you
then
can't satisfy everybody.
Some people,
You can't satisfy everybody.
you know, I'm gonna tell you something right fast, I'll let you go. I got a friend that's city manager and down in the park by Mobile, and he said two guys walked up to him when he became city manager, and he introduced himself. And they said, well, they didn't tell you about us? And he said, what do you mean? He said, well, we two of the complainants. He said, well, I think I can work things out, we'll get answers, and we will be okay, and I'll be able to work things out, and we're gonna be okay. He said, no, that's not gonna happen. We don't wanna be satisfied. We're gonna always have something different.
And that's what's taking place
The
now.
way I feel like some people have made their mind up to say, no matter what you do, or no matter what you go through to get it done,
Still
and no
want
matter
it.
how it is, I'm moving to the next dissatisfactory thing that I can bring up. And that's where I'm at this point. But I wanna say this before you let me go. Nothing will discourage me in any kind of manner
No.
to do my job at the best until the day I leave here. And the job I'm in, as everybody knows, I've been fired one time. It can happen again. That's the way that goes. But it's not gonna be about not doing my job.
Do it right
It's gonna
the
be
first
sticking
time.
to what we
That's right.
can do and what we're supposed to do, the same way that the people that come here and work. And it's what's something else I'm not gonna mention about some things that's not fair towards people that work here, because we just gonna handle that here. But these people come here to do the best job they can, and they are qualified in the job positions that they are in. But that's gonna be for another meeting, but that's gonna have to be discussed too also.
And we will.
Mayor and council. That's gonna be, and it may not be this one, it's gonna be a community meeting to let people understand that we have got to do things that's fair
And we're gonna do it right.
and abide by the laws and the
Exactly.
policies that we have here. If you want those things changed, work on changing those things, but you don't change them without changing. There's gotta be change to do that.
Well,
Yeah, that's the process.
let's move on, Arthur, but I do
All right.
wanna say this. We're not gonna succumb to any of those evil forces. And as I say, I'll cut my wrist for this whole community, and we're not going to allow people to divide us, black and white. We're not gonna do that. Inclusion brings diversity, and diversity brings strength, and that's the way this council works. Anybody else who feel otherwise, this is not the place to be. Because we're gonna respect all people, and and we're gonna be equitable, and we're gonna be fair. And if you wanna attack us, great and fine, but as I stated earlier, it pisses you off, and I'm pissed. And we're going to hit it head on, and we are not going to be unfair to people, whether they black, white, Hispanic, or whatever. No matter what end of the city they may live in, this is one community, and that's the way we're gonna lead it. So thank you. With that, call for the vote. Mrs. Lee?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Day,
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Gordy,
Yes.
Mayor Lo.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Proceeding on now, council, on the finance department. We have a resolution in reference to authorizing the mayor and city manager to sign and enter into a reciprocal agreement with the State of Alabama Department of Revenue pursuant to section 40-2A-10 Code of Alabama 1975. Mrs. Lee.
Yes, sir. Whereas the State of Alabama Department of Revenue and the City of Phenix City, Alabama wish to enter into a reciprocal agreement to provide for the exchange of tax returns and information. And whereas the reciprocal agreement is made between the State of Alabama Department of Revenue and the City of Phenix City, Alabama, and through their duly authorized representatives pursuant to section 42A10 Code of Alabama 1975. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Phenix City, Alabama hereby authorizes the city and the mayor and city manager to sign and enter into a reciprocal agreement with the State of Alabama Department of Revenue pursuant to section 42A10 Code of Alabama 1975. Passed, approved, and adopted this 21st day of December 2021.
Thank you, Mrs. Lee. Council, we've all heard the resolution. At this time, I'd like to ask for a motion. May I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion by Councilman Day. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilman Gordon. Comments or discussion? Okay, Mrs. Lee?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Day,
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Gordy,
Yes.
Mayor Lo.
Yes.
Thank you.
Proceeding on, council, on the police department. We have a resolution in reference to declaring personal property as surplus and disposing of for the nominal sum of $1 and other valuable consideration to Michael Severs of his 11 years of public service. Mrs. Lee.
Yes, sir. Whereas the City of Phenix City, Alabama has items of personal property which are no longer needed for public or municipal purposes. And whereas section 114356 of the Alabama Code of 1975 authorizes the municipal governing body to dispose of unneeded personal property. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Phenix City, Alabama, that the following described property is hereby declared surplus to be disposed of for the consideration of the nominal sum of $1 and other valuable considerations to Michael Severs for the recognition of his 11 years of public service and dedication to the Phenix City Police Department and the citizens of the City of Phenix City. 1 H&K BP9 9mm caliber semi-automatic handgun, manufacturer serial number 224-191360. 1 badge, Blackington model B736R. Passed, approved, and adopted this 21st day of December 2021.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lee. Council, we've heard from the clerk our resolution, the reading of the resolution. May I have a motion at this time?
Motion to approve.
Motion, Councilman Gordon. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilwoman Johnson. Comments or discussion? Okay, Mrs. Lee?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Day,
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Gordy,
Yes.
Mayor Lo.
Yes.
Thank you.
And also, council, on the police department, we have a resolution in reference to purchasing a new target turning system from U.S. Target Technology Incorporation in an amount not to exceed $31,800. It says a budgeted item. Mrs. Lee.
Yes, sir. Whereas the City of Phenix City Police Department has solicited pricing for target turning systems. And whereas the single source manufacturer meeting the specifications for target turning systems for the police department is U.S. Target Technology in Knoxville, Tennessee. And whereas the city desires to purchase one new target turning system in an amount not to exceed $31,800. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Phenix City, Alabama accepts this apparent single source pricing to purchase a target turning system from U.S. Target Technology Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $31,800, provided it meets the specifications. Passed, approved, and adopted this 21st day of December 2021.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. Council, we've heard the resolution. At this time, I'd like to ask for a motion, please.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Councilman Day, may I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilman Gordon. Comments or discussion? Okay, we have the motion and we have the second. I'd like to call for the vote. Mrs. Lee?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Day?
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Councilmember Gordy?
Yes.
Mayor Lo?
Yes.
Thank you.
And also, council, on the police department is a resolution in reference to authorizing the mayor and the city manager to sign a license agreement with Talk Faith Radio for the lease of a tenant space at 1400 Second Place, Phenix City, Alabama, in an amount not to exceed $1,200 per year for 5 years. Mrs. Lee.
Yes, sir. Whereas the City of Phenix City and Talk Faith Radio desires to enter into a license agreement for the lease of antenna space at 1400 Second Place, Phenix City, Alabama. And whereas it would be a benefit to the Talk Faith Radio in the City of Phenix City to enter into said agreement. And whereas the said contract will be an amount not to exceed $1,200 per year for 5 years, starting January 2022. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Phenix City, Alabama hereby authorizes the mayor and city manager to sign a license agreement with Talk Faith Radio for the lease of antenna space at 1400 Second Place in an amount not to exceed $1,200 per year for 5 years, starting January 2022. Passed, approved, and adopted this 21st day of December 2021.
Thank you. Drink your little water now. Catch your breath. Council, we have heard the resolution from our clerk. This time I'd like to ask for a motion, please.
Motion to approve.
All right, we got a motion from Councilwoman Johnson. May I have a second, Council?
Second.
Second from Councilman Gordon. Comments or discussion? Okay, there not being any, I'd like to call for the vote. Mrs. Lee?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Day?
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Councilmember Gordy?
Yes.
Mayor Lo?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Proceeding on, Council, the Police Department is a resolution in reference to declaring property and evidence as surplus to be sold to the highest bidder at a public auction. Mrs. Lee?
Yes, sir. Whereas the Police Department of the City of Phenix City has several items which are no longer needed for public or municipal purposes. And whereas Section 114356 of the Alabama Code of 1975 as amended authorizes the municipal governing body to dispose of unneeded personal property. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Phenix City, Alabama, that the attached list of described property and evidence is hereby declared surplus to be sold to the highest bidder at a public auction. Passed, approved, and adopted this 21st day of December 2021.
Okay, thank you. You okay, Mrs. Johnson?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
I'm
I'm
just-
50
all right.
something.
I just, first, hey, listen, first,
I think that took care of that.
listen, first thing first, we care about it. You always gotta care about people, and that's what we stressed earlier, but it just, let me tell you, at the end of the day, it's all about people, us caring about people. Okay, we've heard the reading of the resolution. At this time, I'd like to ask for a motion, Council. May I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Okay, motion, Councilman Day, may I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilman Gordon. Comments or discussion? Okay, Mrs. Lee?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Day?
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Councilmember Gordy?
Yes.
Mayor Lo?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Proceeding on, Council, on the Police Department is a resolution in reference to declaring property and evidence as surplus to be disposed of at the landfill or destruction at the Auburn University incinerator facility. Mrs. Lee.
Yes, sir. Whereas the Police Department of the City of Phenix City has several items which are no longer needed for public or municipal purposes. And whereas Section 114356 of the Alabama Code of 1975 as amended authorizes the municipal governing body to dispose of unneeded personal property. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Phenix City, Alabama, that the attached list of described property and evidence is hereby declared surplus to be disposed of at the landfill or destruction at the Auburn University incinerator facility. Passed, approved, and adopted this 21st day of December 2021.
Okay. Council, we've heard the resolution. At this time, I'd like to ask for a motion, please. May I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion from Councilman Gordy. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilwoman Johnson. Comments or discussion?
I'd like to ask the chief a question. It says seal briefcase. Y'all open the briefcase too, is it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. I just wondered.
It's a list, it's a long list of
Yeah.
things.
That's all.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Day. Any other comments, discussion? If not, at this time, council, I'd like to call for the vote. Mrs. Lee?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Day?
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Councilmember Gordy?
Yes.
Mayor Lo?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Proceeding on, council, on the Utilities Department. We have a resolution in reference to authorizing the mayor and city manager to accept a proposal from Thompson Insurance Incorporation for property, auto, and liability insurance coverage for calendar years of 2022, 2023, and 2024 at a cost of $243,134 for 2022. Mrs. Lee.
Yes, sir. Whereas the City of Phenix City, Alabama is in need of property, auto, and liability insurance for its utility department. And whereas the city has received a proposal for property, auto, and liability insurance for the Utilities Department from Thompson Insurance Incorporated for the needed coverage for calendar years 2022, 2023, and 2024 in the amount of $243,134 for 2022. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Phenix City, Alabama hereby accepts the proposal for property, auto, and liability insurance for the Utilities Department provided from Thompson Insurance Incorporated for the calendar years of 2022, 2023, and 2024 at a cost of $243,134 for 2022 and authorizes the mayor and city manager to sign the attached proposal. Passed, approved, and adopted this 21st day of December 2021.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. Council, we've heard the resolution. May I ask for a motion, please?
Motion to approve.
All right, motion by Councilman Gordon and second by Councilman Day. Do we have that, Mrs. Lee?
Yes.
Okay. We have the motion and the second. Council, at this time, are there any comments or discussion?
Yes, sir. Could we get somebody to elaborate on this? I'm looking at all these names. Let me ask you a question, Mr. Hunter. All these folks here are covered under this particular insurance. Are they covered under city, other insurance as well?
Yes, sir, this is separate from that, yes, sir, that's dealing with strictly with a lot of the utility department.
Okay.
Dealing with that.
John, since you stood up, just come on up.
Go ahead, John.
Since you stood.
Councilmember Day, your question?
John, could you? Yeah, so we can hear you. Thank you.
No,
Thank you.
I was asking, all these folks I'm looking at here, this list is covered under, utility insurance, not the city insurance, the other insurance. All these folks here.
They're gonna be covered as drivers of utility equipment and vehicles. So those are all people in the utility department that, may be driving the vehicle or operating equipment.
Okay. This insurance cover all the vehicles and all the equipment that the utility department use.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And buildings.
Okay, that's separate from the city probably working on that.
Okay.
Okay.
Insurance, yeah, this is different.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Well,
Thank you, John.
well,
Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Day. Any other comments or discussion? If not, I'd like to call for the vote. Mrs. Lee?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Day?
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Councilmember Gordy?
Yes.
Mayor Lo?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Proceeding on, council, on the ordinance. We have a public notice in first reading. We have a letter of recommendation from the Planning Commission, public notice and ordinance to rezone 1.08 acre tract of land located at 3900 Waterworks Road from an R2 zone, medium density residential district to an AO zone, apartment and office district, BFI LLC, Mike Bowden, the owner. Mrs. Lee.
Yes, sir. This is a letter from the Planning Commission to the mayor and council members regarding the rezone of 1.08 at 3900 Waterworks Road, BFI LLC, Michael Bowden, owner. The Planning Commission of the City of Phenix City met on Tuesday, December the 14th, 2021 to consider the request of BFI LLC, Michael Bowden, owner for 1.08 plus or minus acres at 3900 Waterworks Road to be rezoned from an R2 zone, medium density residential district, to an AO zone, apartment and office district, It is the recommendation of the Planning Commission that this request for a rezone be approved by the City Council. Signed by Pat Howard, Chairman, Eliza Phillips, Secretary. The public notice and ordinance read as follows. Public notice. Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Phenix City, Alabama, in response to a request made by the Planning Commission of the City of Phenix City, Alabama, will meet on the first day of February 2022 at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time at the Martin Idlehour Park Community Center located at 3743 Moon Lake Drive, Phenix City, Alabama, to consider the following amendment to the zoning ordinance of the City of Phenix City, Alabama. An ordinance. An ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance of the City of Phenix City, Alabama. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Phenix City, Section 1, that the zoning ordinance of the City of Phenix City, Alabama, adopted on the 17th day of September 2002, be amended so that the following tract of land be located in an AO apartment and office district instead of an R2 zone, medium density residential district. Property is 1.08 acres plus or minus, located at 3900 Waterworks Road, BFI LLC owner. The legal description follows. At said meeting, all persons desiring to be heard concerning the rezoning of the above described property may appear before the council at the aforementioned time and place to be heard. Passed, approved, and adopted this 21st day of December 2021.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. Council, we've all heard the first reading. At this time, I'd like to ask for one motion, please, to accept the letter, as well as approve the public notice, and as well as place this ordinance on first reading.
I'll offer that motion at this time, Mayor.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Day. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilman Gordon. Okay. Comments or discussion? Not. Mrs. Lee?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Day,
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Gordy,
Yes.
Mayor Lo.
Yes.
Thank you.
And also, council, on the public notice and first reading is a letter of recommendation from the Planning Commission, public notice and ordinance to rezone 0.53 acre tract of land located at Waterworks Road from a no zoning to an AO apartment and office district. City of Phenix City is the owner. Mrs. Lee.
Yes, sir. This is the letter from the Planning Commission, Mayor and City Council members regarding the rezone of 0.53 acres on Waterworks Road, City of Phenix City owner. The Planning Commission of the City of Phenix City met on Tuesday, December the 14th, 2021, to consider the request of the City of Phenix City owner for 0.53 plus or minus acres on Waterworks Road to be rezoned from no zoning to an AO apartment and office district. It is the recommendation of the Planning Commission that this request for a rezone be approved by the City Council. Sincerely, Pat Howard, Chairman, Eliza Phillips, Secretary. The ordinance and public notice read as follows. Public notice. Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Phenix City, Alabama, in response to a request made by the Planning Commission of the City of Phenix City, Alabama, will meet on the first day of February 2022 at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time at the Martin Idlehour Park Community Center located at 3743 Moon Lake Drive, Phenix City, Alabama, to consider the following amendment to the zoning ordinance of the City of Phenix City, Alabama. An ordinance. An ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance of the City of Phenix City, Alabama. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Phenix City, Section 1, that the zoning ordinance of the City of Phenix City, Alabama, adopted on the 17th day of September 2002, be amended so that the following tract of land be located in an AO apartment office district instead of a no zoning. Property is 0.53 plus or minus acres located on Waterworks Road, City of Phenix City owner. The legal description follows. At said meeting, all persons desiring to be heard concerning the rezoning of the above described property may appear before the council at aforementioned time and place to be heard. Passed, approved, and adopted this 21st day of December 2021.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Lee.
Yes, sir.
Council, we've all heard the reading, the first reading. At this time, I would like to ask for a motion to accept this letter to approve the public notice as well as to place on first reading. May I have a motion to, please?
Motion to approve.
Motion, Mr. Councilman Day. Second.
Second, Mayor.
Second, Councilwoman Johnson. Comments or discussion? Okay, Mrs. Lee?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Day?
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Councilmember Gordy?
Yes.
Mayor Lo?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Proceeding on, council, on the ordinance, we have a second reading. It is an ordinance to exempt certain items from the municipal sales and use tax during February 2022, referred to as the severe weather preparedness tax holiday. Council, the first reading was held on the 7th of this month. I am not going to ask the clerk to reread it. However, I would like to ask for a motion at this time. May I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion from Councilman Gordy. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilman Day. Okay, Mrs. Lee?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Day?
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Councilmember Gordy?
Yes.
Mayor Lo?
Yes.
Thank you.
Proceeding on, council, on the license application, we have a first reading. It is an application for an off-premise beer license, an off-premise wine license, and an off-premise whiskey wine retail package store license submitted by Jahid Hassan from Orny LLC, doing business as Orny Package Store located at 1614A East 280 Bypass, Phenix City, Alabama. Mrs. Lee.
Yes, sir. The first letter is from the Chief of Police. I have reviewed these applications for off-premise beer, off-premise wine, as well as whiskey wine license, retail package store, and I have no objection to the issuance of these licenses to the applicant based upon his criminal background investigation. The second memo is from Fire Chief. This letter is in reference to the application submitted by Jihad Hassan of Orny LLC, doing business as Orny Package Store, located at 1614A East 280 Bypass, Phenix City, Alabama, 36867. The applicant has applied for off-premise beer, off-premise wine, off-premise whiskey wine, retail package store licenses. A final inspection was conducted, and the building meets the fire code requirements for this type of occupancy. The next memo is from the Deputy Building Official. This letter is in reference to the application submitted by Jihad Hassan of Orny LLC, doing business as Orny Package Store, located at 1614A East 280 Bypass, for off-premise beer, off-premise wine, and whiskey wine retail package store licenses. This facility meets the building code requirements. This office has no objections to the approval of these licenses.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lee. Council, we've heard the first reading. At this time, I'd like to ask for a motion to place on first reading. May I have a motion?
Motion to place on first reading.
All right, motion by Councilwoman Johnson. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Gordy. Okay, Mrs. Lee?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Day?
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Councilmember Gordy?
Yes.
Mayor Lo?
Yes.
Thank you.
Also, council, on the license application, we have an application for an off-premise beer license, an off-premise wine license submitted by Jahid Hassan for Orny LLC, doing business as Fuel Hub, located at 1614 East 280 Bypass, Phenix City, Alabama. Mrs. Lee.
Yes, sir. The first memo is from Chief of Police. I have reviewed these applications for off-premise beer as well as off-premise wine, and I have no objection to the issuance of these licenses to the applicant based upon his criminal background investigation. The next memo is from Fire Chief. This letter is in reference to the application submitted by Jihad Hassan of Orny LLC, doing business as Fuel Hub, located at 1614 East 280 Bypass, Phenix City, Alabama, 36867. The applicant has applied for off-premise beer and off-premise wine licenses. A final inspection was conducted this date, and the building meets the fire code requirements for this type of occupancy. The last memo is from the Deputy Building Official. This letter is in reference to the application submitted by Jihad Hassan of Orny LLC, doing business as Fuel Hub, located at 1614 East 280 Bypass, for off-premise beer and off-premise wine licenses. This facility meets the building code requirements. This office has no objections to the approval of these licenses.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. Get your second win now. The hay's about in the barn. Council, we have all heard the first reading. At this time, I'd like to ask for a motion to place on first reading. May I have a motion, please?
Motion to place on first reading.
Motion by Councilman Day. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilwoman Johnson. Okay, Mrs. Lee?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Day?
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Councilmember Gordy?
Yes.
Mayor Lo?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Lee. Now, at this time, I'd like to call on our attorney, city attorney, Mr. Grant.
Yes, sir, Mayor, Mayor and Council, we have one claim on the agenda today. This is a claim that has been tabled twice, to try to work through this. It's by Sally and John Muslin. Mr. and Ms. Muslin own a rental property at 1334 Ingersoll Drive, Phenix City, Alabama. Just to put it in context, our utilities engineer and our utilities director have worked long and hard trying to make these folks happy. I want to tell you that the water meter was set in May of 2010, so we're looking at a house that's approximately 12 years old. You've got a timeline that they set out for every time they've been out there, answered calls out there. They've gone above and beyond, in my opinion, what the city should have done to try to make these people happy. I talked to both Mr. Muslin and Mrs. Muslin yesterday. I'm offering the work that Mr. Hunter and myself, and we had a meeting on what we had agreed to do. And that was to basically re-pour half of their driveway. They are insistent on us paving their entire driveway. It's this water line and part of their driveway is on the city right of way, which means we've got the right under the law to go in there, dig their driveway up if it's necessary, and we don't even really have to put it back in the shape that we found it in. But we did. We've patched it twice. That did not please them. We've offered numerous solutions which they have rejected, and you know, based on their position that they want their entire driveway replaced is just not possible. And the reason I mentioned when the water meter was set 12 years ago, any of us know that in the course of 12 years, I know in my house it was the driveway started cracking about the first or second year. Concrete's going to crack, and we didn't do anything wrong. There was a water leak that the city repaired, and they got their insurance company involved, and they've taken some advice from their insurance company, and which they denied their claim, by the way. But they have been telling them what they need to ask us for, which I think are totally wrong. And based on all of that, I recommend that the claim be denied.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Grant.
Yes, sir.
Council, we've heard the recommendation from our attorney. At this time, I'd like to call for a motion to approve this recommendation.
Motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion from Councilman Gordy. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilwoman Johnson. Okay, call for the vote. Mrs. Lee?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Day?
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Councilmember Gordy?
Yes.
Mayor Lo?
Yes.
Thank you.
And also, council on the city manager, we have a resolution in reference to authorizing the mayor and the city manager to sign a membership agreement with Alabama 811 to receive underground utilities location requests through Alabama 811. Mrs. Lee.
Yes, sir. Whereas the City of Phenix City, Alabama is in need to register for membership of the Alabama 811 for underground utility line locate request for its utility department. And whereas the city has received a general membership agreement with Alabama 811 to receive underground utility location requests through Alabama 811. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Phenix City, Alabama hereby authorizes the mayor and city manager to sign a general membership agreement with Alabama 811 for underground utility location requests through Alabama 811. Passed, approved, and adopted this 21st day of December 2021.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lee.
Yes, sir.
Council, we've heard the resolution. At this time, I'd like to ask for a motion, please. May I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion by Councilman Day. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilman Gordon. Comments or discussion? Okay, if not any, call for the vote. Mrs. Lee?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Day?
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Councilmember Gordon?
Yes.
Mayor Lo?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, City Council. Thank the department head, Mr. Hunter. Thank you, Mr. Graham, and everyone. And please pass that on to all your people that worked for the city. With that, at this time, I'd like to ask if there's any comments or statement that any of the council members would like to state. Anything?
I would, Mayor, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to take an opportunity, first of all, to thank God for continuing to working on our hearts and minds. We know that this time of the year is a season of reflection, a season of giving, and a season of hope. And the reason for this season is Jesus Christ. So I just want everybody to know that this council, our community, where we are now is where God wants us to be. As I, continue to reflect back on the many things that has happened this year, we've had some challenging times. We've had some growth in our city. We've had some dismay in our city, but through it all, we are one of the best cities around, in my opinion. But with every year comes with a sense of a glimmer of hope and opportunity. And our city has made stride in every part of the district to do what is right and to make sure that our city is one of the best places to live, work, and worship. Mayor, thank you for partnering with me as a council person. I want to thank you. I want to thank the council, city manager, your employees, your staff for doing the great works that we see right here in Phenix City. So thank you. Thank you to the attorneys for taking those cases, analyzing those cases, and making sure that you make the best possible decision for the betterment of Phenix City. So thank you, attorneys. I want to also thank our city staff, the clerk office, and the ones that work up there, because I couldn't do the job that my constituents hired me to do without the great help of everyone. So thank you for keeping me on track as well. But looking ahead, we will have some of the things that people are, asking about and requesting. But the conversation has already been stated. It's going to take time. But I just want to thank everyone, for allowing me to serve as a city council rep. I was just hearing a story, and I'll be very brief, Mayor. But I heard a 2020 story this past week. There's a city, Lowndes County, that does not have, a portion of their city does not have sewage. And we're in 2021, at the end of 2021. And that just hurt my heart. But look where we are. Now, I really hate it for that city, that municipality, and those citizens that are going through something like that. But we are grateful to live in a place where we have indoor plumbing. We have one of the best sewage systems. We have the best water and the chemicals that goes in the water, so we can safely drink our water, cook with our water. So we're very, very blessed to be in a city like Phenix City. So thank you for making sure that happens, City Manager. I know you have a lot to do with that. A lot of improvements, infrastructure is being done. Some of the things that I didn't see prior to coming on 4 years ago that I'm now seeing. And so yes, I do know that it takes time. But But hearing that report, like I said, it just allowed me to see how blessed we are as a community to have those resources that creates a better life for our citizens. So I thank God for that. And I also just want to wish everyone a safe holiday season, a very Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. Again, thank you so much, Mayor, for what you do.
Thank you. Anyone else?
All right, yeah, Mayor, I just have a couple of things. One of the things I like to say to the citizens, not just the citizens District 3, but throughout the city of Phenix City, much has been said. City manager elaborated on it, and our mayor has already elaborated on some things being said. This is one Phenix City as a whole, and we have to look at it that way. As has been said, things are not done overnight. It takes time, it takes patience, and as I said so many times, that we are a lack of help. People are hiring everywhere, but folks don't want to work. Some folks just don't want to work. But I like to say to all our citizens, as Mr. Hunter has stated, if you want to know something, let us come to the clerk office, economic development, and find out stuff firsthand. And we don't have to get around and assume something. And you know, it takes time for most anything. And I also like to say this, my district that I represent had the opportunity to be down there on Saturday. My hat goes off to all those organizations. I think it was about 4 or 5 organizations. They had over 200 bikes down there. They had 14 tables of toys, and I was down there in the middle of all of that. And I think they served the Bi-City area, Sotek, and Lee County, Columbus, Georgia, and what have you. They done a tremendous job. I was very impressed with what I saw down there. And that's what they're going to take. It's going to take a whole community to serve each one another. That's what the Bible has to serve each one another. And that's what we got to do. I want to thank Chief Smith for sending the officers down there and helping us out, helping them out in that area as well. Let us not forget the reason for the season. Jesus is the reason for the season. It's not about the gift that you receive or the gift that you're going to give. It's all about the reason for the season. We got to keep that in mind. And I wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. May God bless to all of you guys.
Anything? Mr. Hunt?
Yeah, you know, this is our last meeting of the year. Been a tough year again, but thankful for it. I'd like to thank all the department heads for the job that you all have done and continue to do. We have a few more days left in this year. Get prepared for the next one coming. It never stops. I'd like to thank the council for all that you all have done and the work that you all continue to do. Clerk's office, you know, the attorneys on our staff. And just thank everybody for what they've done. We try to stay positive and look at things, but you know, it's been a tough year on a lot of people in our city. And with this pandemic, we've had a lot of loss, great loss throughout the whole city. You know, the great loss from where I consider them from, a couple of places, but I love Fort Mitchell. You know, how I got a passion for Phenix City, but I love Fort Mitchell. Lost some dear close cousins down there this past year. You know, this is a weird year for me myself. 16 years old, lost my grandfather on Christmas Day. That's have never gotten over, but it's something you try to look forward to, and you're thankful for God for everything. You know, the birth of Jesus, the whole works. You know, it's there, and you love it. It's magnificent. To try to go day to day and try to make it with one another. But it's always easy to say thank you. People got to remember, it shouldn't be hard to say I'm sorry. You know, it's a lot of different things as we advance and we go through things with one another. It makes us stronger in our relationships with one another. And a lot of the times we just have to look at things that people just don't understand. But it's easy to deal with people when they don't understand, when they mild with it, than when they're forceful with it. So, and that's why sometimes I have to come back the way I do with things and dealing with people. But I think we are all blessed. You know, you never know what people are going through. But we're fortunate today, and somebody while we're sitting here is going through some painful things and things to come. But all we can do is keep our heads up, try to help everybody and everybody that we can. And, you know, like I say, thank you all for the wonderful job that you do. And I appreciate it. Thank you all.
Thank you. And again, I want to thank this council and thank everyone. And this time of year, reflection, and I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and spend time with your family. That's the most important thing. But I do want to say this and end with that. This time of year should remind us that we should love people and we should love each other. And there's no way that you can love people and not love God and His Son Jesus. And there's no way you can love God and His Son and not love people. So let's remember to always love people. Let's be the lifter and not a leaner. And may God continue to bless all of us, individually as well as collectively. And thank you all so much for what all you all do. And we certainly don't want to be remissive and not thank CTV Bean for bringing this to our community. Again, I hope and pray and hope that everyone see how transparent this council is, because we're going to do the right thing for all people everywhere in this community. So we do love this community and we love you all. So may God continue to bless us all. We do stand adjourned. Thank you.